Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Chris Army, back once again. A little review of Football Manager 2020. The beta dropped yesterday. We played a little bit on stream, I played a little bit off stream. I've had a little chance to take a look at things. So, I thought, why not put a review out there? Short form review, not too detailed, but let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing to note would be for me, for new players. How easy is it to get into? Well, any game as complex as Football Manager does have a very steep learning curve in some places. And I do feel that is going to put off some people. It really shouldn't. Behind the scenes, there is a ton of detail. And behind, each screen is so much information that you can get overwhelmed. Now, in my opinion, that's very understandable, but it doesn't need to be the way things really are. So, over the next coming week, maybe 2 weeks, because the beta test for this game will be 2 weeks. So, throughout that beta, we will be doing a series of videos explaining a little bit about each side of the game and how you can approach it from a new player perspective. And that basically means I will walk you through each screen and explain what the information is there, how it's useful, what bits are safe to ignore until you get a better grip on the core elements of the game, what are the core elements that you really should be focusing on early, and what your day one or year one of management should look like in the game. I will also be expanding out to do a list of graphics that I'm using and show you how to install them into the game. How to get all the real name fixes in, because licensing issues, not all player pictures, club badges or real names, both for players and for clubs this year, are in the game. There are some licensing issues, and I believe as well for a league. I believe the J League in Japan isn't correctly named because of licensing. So it's a tricky situation for SI Sports Interactive, the makers of the game, to get around. Therefore, it falls to the fans to mod the game and get those things as realistic as possible, because we want to play in a more realistic world. If you want to play it out of the box, no graphics, no, that's great. That's on you. Not a problem. But for me, I do prefer a more complete world. And I understand that means that, maybe Sports Interactive can't really showcase anything I do as much because, hey, I'm using non-licensed content in their game. I need to play it the way I want to play it. So, without further ado, I don't know why I keep looking down, but without further ado, we're going to ramp in and show you a little bit about this game, a very bare bones, quick first glance over things, and after, I want to say about 7-8 hours of the game so far, and with a 25-year history with this game, that I've been attached to this game and the entire series through each iteration every year, I'm going to give you my opinions on how it compares to the others in the series, how it compares to other management titles, sports management titles, football games in the marketplace right now. And I'm just going to tell you what I think and where you can go get it. So without further ado, let's jump into the end first. Recommendations. Spoiler alert, I like this game. I've been playing this series of games for 24 coming on 25 years now. It's a game series that has evolved with my love of football and my knowledge of football. When I first played, I was a young lad. I was, pre-teen. I was, 12, I think, the first time I picked up the game. And throughout that first season, I was sort of really just focused on winning with Swansea, because Swansea are my club. They're my local hometown club. Back then, we were down in Division 3, the old Division 3 of English football, which is now League 2, which is barely staying within the pyramid. So it was a very difficult and very sort of weird style of football I played, and my experience from then to now has changed dramatically. But then again, the game has changed dramatically too. I wasn't interested in managing anyone else back then. Swansea were my club, and we did okay, but it wasn't great. In real life, Swansea moved up the leagues, and as my grasp of football tactics, my ideas behind the game, how I can get transfers across, and that sort of thing, that all expanded as Swansea grew up the leagues. So I'm very happy with that. Now, within the game itself, I think there's a very, very good a good set of basic footballing tactical and coaching and training principles and scouting principles that are all realistic. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed this. As to where I'd place it in the series, it does seem to be in there. I want to say it's right up the top. Honestly, I've got to say it's right up the top. I took a break from 16 to 18. 19 was my first game back in the series because I kind of fell out of love with it. I burnt myself out of it. 20 years, 21 years playing the game. I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of 16. I didn't feel there were enough changes in the series. And the ones that we'd been asking for, the stuff that we wanted to come in, hadn't come in. I felt that there wasn't much difference between FM 11, FM 12, through to 16. And that's a 4 to 5 year period where, to me, it felt very samey. And if you do buy a game every year, usually sports titles, you will find that there will be periods of time where there are data updates and some quality of life, but nothing that makes a game feel too new and too exciting. So that's kind of where we were. And I felt in a holding pattern, that's what I was getting. I wasn't getting anything more out. It felt like I've been playing the same game for 3 to 4 years, and I was done. So I took a step back from Twitch, where I was streaming the game, and that's where I play most of my game, is through Twitch. So if you want to go follow me over there and watch me play the game live, that's fine. There will be a YouTube series coming as well, so you can stick around here if you prefer, or do both. Up to you. But yeah, really, I took a break from Twitch. I took a break from FM. I came back to 19, and I really, really liked it. Now, before it became Football Manager, it used to be Championship Manager, and for me, one of the best versions of the game was Championship Manager season 2000, 2001, and then 2003, 2004. So those are the games that I kind of put up at the high end of the game. Now, I also put FM 11 quite high up there because I thought that was a really, really good version of the game. We were about 4 or 5 years into the run of it, switching from IDAS to Sega and from Championship Manager to Football Manager. And I felt they really hit a nice spot of gameplay features, realism, learning curve. That everything came together for me about FM 11-ish. So that's another game I put up there. And then coming back to the series, the difference between the bit of 16 I played and 19 was huge. And I really, really liked 19. There were still some major issues with the game that had always been there for me. Mainly match engine and animations on the 3D pitch. They didn't match up, and the animations looked a little janky anyway. They were still the best out there out of all these kind of games, by far. But I always felt it was lacking, and I was always waiting for that upgrade. So 19 was up there, but still is a flawed game. Those are my big four. I don't know where I put 19 in that mix, and that's important for me because FM 20 is FM 19. And now let me stop you there. You might be thinking, okay, if it's 19 and 20, I'm just going to play 19. No. It's the same game as 19. slicker, many quality of life upgrades, many new redesigned screens which look better and allow you to process information better. The game collates a lot of different information that was on different screens and puts them into one area where you can find everything. It duplicates information from one screen to another if it ties into what else is on each of those pages. They do this from time to time. That on its own would not be enough for me to say, get this game, stop playing 19. What is that my main issues with the game seem to have been fixed. Early days, day 2 of beta. It's not perfect, but the match engine is much better, and you might be able to tell how pleased that makes me feel just by the sound of my voice, the look on my face. We have been waiting for this. We have been waiting for a match engine that looks realistic. We have been looking for a match engine that is logical, that replicates what we see on a football pitch, that replicates what we see on TV, that replicates the picture in our mind telling us that if a ball goes into this area of the pitch, these players are going to react in certain ways. And they haven't always done that. This match engine, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it used to in getting that. And oh my God, what a difference it makes. I no longer watch matches and think, what is he doing? Oh my God, this game is so bad. Oh my God, this is happening. Now I know that why things are happening. I know that my player's bad at marking. I know he's not going to pick up that run. And I see that happening in game. I know that other players are quite slow. I see that happening. Decision making on the pitch seems to be a lot quicker. There's no more delaying, which leads to odd sequences where a goalkeeper would sit still because he hasn't made a decision whether or not he's going to go forward for the ball or not. And 4 or 5 seconds of him standing still while a striker's running at him is ludicrous. But it's what we used to see a little bit of, because that was the limitations of the software and the system that we were working with, that was in place at the time. FM20, players make up their minds, they act. Then they react and react and it's so good to see. It's so realistic now compared to what we have. And I do expect to see that getting tightened up either throughout this beta when the game's fully released in 2 weeks' time, whether that's next year or the year after, whichever iteration of FM is coming out. I now have faith that the match engine not only is good now, but will continue to get better. We've been promised it, we've been expecting it, we've probably put too much pressure on them about it because it's such a big thing and it was unrealistic for us to expect a phenomenal match engine, like 5-10 years ago, but we were demanding it. But we're in the point now where that does work, and it looks like the animations are much tighter, much better. Goalkeeping doesn't look crazy anymore. It actually does seem to be a little bit more of a realistic approach to the game, and that's what we're going for. That's what they're going for. That's what we want to see, and that's kind of where we are in the system. So overall, I've got to say I'm very impressed by how things look and where we are within the series. So I put FM20 up as one of the top 5. Nostalgia keeps 03, 04, and possibly 2000, 2001 ahead. If you really looked at them side by side, I think FM20 will probably be pushing ahead with relative technology and expectations and everything else, being taken into account, of course, because FM20 is the best football manager by far that they've ever produced. Ever. It's the best game Sports Interactive as a company have ever produced, and it's not even close. So there are some new features, but they're not really anything that you need to worry about. I think it's the best looking game they've set up. There are a couple of issues I've got with it. I will say that. There are a couple of issues I do have. And it's mainly if I take you to the staff screen. Like, I like this. This all looks good. It tells you what you need to hire and what you can't sort of get away with. You can look at all your staff in their teams. You can look at staff individually. So I can have a look at my chief scout and open up a page, and there's so much information. And that's what this game is. It's information. It's up to you to take what you want and use that elsewhere. But overall, I really like how everything's laid out, except staff responsibilities. And if I drag in a picture of what it used to look like, then maybe you can see. Now, this is back in 2016, so it's a little bit back again. But this is what we used to have. You used to have a list of different categories. So, as you can see here, staff recruitment. That's a category, a catch-all system for all of these different things. Now, you used to be able to have a drop-down menu with a bunch of people that could do that job. You selected them. I found that really easy to read, really easy to organize. I know what it should look like for me, because I handled all the transfers, all the contracts, all the recruitment stuff was all mine. And then we had some, I believe then next was the scouting, which I had director of football as the first option, and then chief scout for the next two. So, you know, the director of football handled the scouting meetings, and the actual scouting setup and everything was done and oversaw by the chief scout. And then we had training, which was the assistant managers of each level of the club. The first team, reserves, or under 23s or under 21s, whatever it worked out, or a B team, depending what each club had. But, you know, each of the team's reserve managers would take the training. And then at the bottom, I had the head of youth doing the incoming youth intake. And I had everybody in their jobs, and I knew what it looked like. I knew what everything was. This doesn't really look like the same thing for me. This is a lot of text in multiple columns that just doesn't look as if it's easy for me to tell what each thing is at a glance. And I could. Now, these are all things that I'm doing as a manager in this save. I'm doing all this. But, like, I can now go in and click each of these headers, and I can select who's doing what. So, if we look here tactically, I'm letting my assistant manager, and then for the youth team, for the under-18s, I'm letting the head coach and assistant coach deal with their stuff. But I'm here taking control of opposition instructions, which is telling us how to play other players, specific players that we come up against. And I'm letting the assistant do other things. But I don't like having to go into that and then jump out. And then jump into another section and jump out. And then another section and jump out. And in and out. I don't like that. I don't like how this looks. I don't like that I've got to go to 20 screens this way. Whereas I did it on, I think, 5 or 6. There were just these little tabs at the top that you dealt with each area and selected who was dealing with what, and you moved on to the next tab and the next tab. There was no jumping back and forth. It looked better. It felt better. I kind of miss that. The other way is down here in the drop-down menu where everything to do with the board, staff. But instead of doing 5 or 6 of them, you can see now we've got to do 8 of them. It doesn't feel like a quality of life thing, because the old way worked fine, was cleaner, quicker, more accessible, and easier to understand, in my opinion. So, the fact that we've now gone backwards in that direction when the trend has been forward in those directions, streamlining, ease of readability, etc. Like, I just really hate reading this screen. If I get onto the head coach stuff, like, I really hate it. I know it's not even showing any of those. There we go. Now it is. So, a little bit buggy, beta sort of thing. It's something to get used to. I'm going to find my own way of doing it, which makes sense to me, that I like. But that'll be the one backward step for me personally. Loading times. Saving, loading, going into games, all that. Everything is quicker. Game processing time, quicker. They've tightened that up as we expected them to. And I really, really appreciate that. On top of that as well, we've got so many new features like the club vision. It looks off-putting, but again, like I say, the new features we'll be splitting into different parts and doing a video on. I didn't really want to do a preview because we didn't really know much about them, but a review, I'm happy to do. So we're going to break up each of these new places. The club vision, development center, they're probably the big two that need to be done. So yeah, we will be jumping into that. I do have custom views. That's much better. A lot more information in one place. That's kind of what I like, and that's what they've been doing as a trend. So, as I say, we'll be splitting off different features, different way of doing things. But I really like how it looks. Now, this is the dark skin. There are 3 different skins. A light skin, I think, is way too bright. The default skin is a nice light-ish skin. And this is a nice dark skin, which is how I like to play the game. So, yeah, overall, as I said, highly recommended. It's available now if you pre-order through an authorized reseller. You can check for, if you Google out Sega authorized reseller, you'll get a list of websites and companies that are authorized to sell the game. You can pre-order it, and if you do pre-order it, you can get in on the beta right now. Went live yesterday. It's been live for about 25 hours currently. So you can do that. If you want to wait, it should unlock, I think the 19th, I believe the 19th, probably around midday or in the morning in mainland Europe. At the moment, depends where you want to get it, but if you go and head over to 2 game, that's the number 2 game, and 10% off with the code FM-base. I am a member of the FM Base stream team, but that will be one of the cheapest places, if not the cheapest place right now, that you can get the game. I believe during pre-orders, they were running a 28% discount on the site, and I believe you could add 10% off with our code as well. So, it's an official authorized retailer. It takes about an hour, maybe less, to get the game. It'll get you a Steam code. Make sure you're in the right region. It normally checks your IP, so if you're on a VPN, make sure that it's not, because if you're in America and you buy a European code, you will not be able to play the game. Vice versa, other regions, exactly the same. So make sure your IP is showing the actual region you're in. Go to 2 game. Put it in, make sure you got the right region, but put it in the basket. Go to checkout, add in the code FM-base, and you will be able to get it cheaply, jump into the beta and enjoy it straight away. As I said, I'm having a fun time playing this right now. I've jumped in my first save for the beta because we've got 2 weeks, and usually I play a season about just short of a week, every 4 days or so. So I thought I could do a 2 to 3 year beta save, and then when the game releases fully and it's updated with the release dates and all the fixes that we've gone through in beta, I can put my new graphics on it. There's a new skin coming from FM Base, and you can get tactics and graphics and everything from FM Base as well. So Google that, go head on over. So I believe that is fm-base.co.uk. And again, let me just pull up a graphic to make it easier for you. Working on the fly here. No script for these. One take. That's all we do. But FM Base, if you just search for FM Base, that's the website. You'll be able to get all your content for Football Manager there. And like I say, I'll be setting up all my new stuff. I'm still using last year's graphics, so they will need to be updated in certain places. But yeah, we are playing with Red Bull Salzburg. We're going to try and win the Champions League in 3 years. It's going to be a huge, huge task. But if we look at the quality in the team, we've got depth, really. You know, we don't take a step down. Sadly, both right backs are out injured, so that's going to make the next few games kind of interesting. But they're both good. I've got 4 comparable sort of good centre-backs, a couple of left-backs, midfielders. Wingers, I needed to bring in people on loan. I brought on OBM, and Dardai. OBM is Maya, if you do not know, from Bayern Munich. So Olivier Batista Meyer. I brought those in on loan because I thought they'd be good. I brought Esposito in as a young player. I brought in other players on trial that were free transfers just to round out the squad. But I think we've got great depth all the way through. Star man, of course, is Erling Haaland, taking the European football scene by absolute storm right now. So I'm excited to see what we can do. And yeah, if you want to follow the adventures, we'll be going live, I believe 12 p.m. Central US time, which should be 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. depending on daylight savings time in the UK and some of Europe. Yeah, you're going to have to figure it out. So GMT basically would be 6 hours, I believe, ahead. So that'll be 6 p.m. We run for 4 to 6 hours usually every Monday through Friday. There'll be days I might go a little early and end a little early, but those are the general times. Plus, like I say, a different save will be loading up here when the game is fully released. So in 2 weeks, a new save will be running here on YouTube, and it will be Swansea. We will be taking back over Swansea, trying to get them out of the Championship, into the Premier League, win the Premier League, and go after the Champions League. There's a long journey for us to embark upon. So we will be starting that in that 2 week period. As I say, we will be looking to get all these videos up on YouTube as well. Little explanations, new features, how-tos, tips, tricks, and all those sort of things that a new player might need to get started in the game. So keep a lookout for those over the next 2 weeks. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Chris Ormy. As always, I appreciate you being here. Comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell, all the good stuff. Head over to Twitter or Twitch at Chris Ormy and make sure that you follow me there as well. More content going up all over the place. We've got a ton of different stuff happening very soon. So, with all that being said, FM 2020, highly recommended right now. If you do know the game, if you played it before, if you played the FM series before, you can jump into the beta. Otherwise, I'd say take some time, watch some streams on Twitch or here on YouTube, watch some videos, watch some gameplay, head over to FM Base, read some guides. The FM Base YouTube channel as well will have lots of videos explaining a little bit about the new features, and you can stay here for all that content I mentioned coming soon to help you on your way. And don't forget, it's almost Christmas. We're about, a month and a half out? It's a good time for a Steam sale. Is there going to be a discount? I don't know. But I wouldn't bet against it. So if you want to wait a little bit, you might be able to save some money and therefore mitigate any risk you think about it. But if you love football, if you love these kind of games, and you haven't played FM yet, I don't know what to tell you. It's the best management simulator out there. I love some of the other ones. This has been my first love. It was starting to slip a little bit behind some others. New match engine, new animations, few new features, development center. So I like to build through youth. This all puts a lot of information in one place for me. And I absolutely adore that aspect of it. So, like I say, it's the best out there for me. So, why are you waiting? Jump in, both feet, have some fun. I'll see you next time.